I mean, do all the things that I need to do. You know how it be. You know what I'm doing. I'm clicking the stream things. I'm clicking the stream things. I'm getting the things all set. You know how it be. Cool. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Cool, 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 cool. Alright. We are live. So hello. It is just me. For the first stream, the first show of the third year. Hello there. And welcome back to TableTalk, Discussion, and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Great95. Oh, you know, the guy that you know, who runs the show behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. Sorry, took a drink. So we will be joined for certain by Aiden later. Unless he gets hit by another car or something. And Boo might or might not be joining. We'll see. It might be at the tail end. He's a bit tired, so he's having himself a nap. But that's all right. That's okay. It's just you and me and you and also me. But anyway, welcome to the third year of Table Talk, Discussion, and Discourse. It's going to be a good one. Everyone knows it. You and I know it. And it'll be great. You'll love it. Got my classic green Table Talk t-shirt on for this. Getting myself some Old Forest Statesman Bourbon too. Happy anniversary. Thank you, Steely. Hello. And here we are for another whirlwind adventure. Hello, Draco Kraken. Yes. Happy third year. Thank you, Indigo. Yeah. Yeah. So, welcome to the start of the third year. It's crazy. That we're here. For you. And today, well, we'll get to the topic, but today there will be a very special little announcement thing, so do stay tuned for your chance to win something. Whoa! Quite literally, I'm gonna do a thing. Because fucking, we've been doing this for a while, and figured, hey, people out there, the ones who actually, like, make it so that we can do this, and also, you know, enjoy the content. Hopefully, we can give back a little bit, you know? So be prepared for that. As they say in YouTube Rewind, I'm so proud of this community. Yeah, except I would say it genuinely. and not 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 in YouTube Rewind. Did you imagine if they still had YouTube Rewind? And also if they allowed someone like some chuckle fucks like us? Man, that'd be funny. I'd laugh. But yeah, so today's episode gonna be pretty standard, in the sense of topic, and all that. Figured it would all be good and set. Table Talk Rewind video. I mean, maybe in the future. I got doing a rewind video like that, like in the set, not like what they did later, but like doing something that like goes over everything that we've done. Shit, dude. That's a lot of work that I don't have time for right now, but I would love to have that happen. That'd be sick. Maybe they might bring it back now that they got rid of the downvotes. God, no. They'll never do that. That's why they got rid of them. No. Yeah, I know. Yeah, anyway. So, but yeah, so it'll be a kind of a standard episode. If you see the title, of course you do. We're talking about burnout. Not the game. Burnout as in the when you feel tired of tabletop stuff. And you're getting burned out and you're like, I don't want to play anymore, you know? It's a thing that we all get on occasion. I know I got it for 6 months or so. At one point, it was pretty, you know. Downvotes are still there. Just install the Chrome mod. Yeah, everyone knows. Don't worry about it. I know. I have the extension on on my stuff. I can see them. It's so dumb. We've talked about this, but yeah. So yeah, everyone's felt the burnout. Whether it lasts a long time or not, that's, you know, it's down to the person. I know I felt it multiple times, either through being a player or being a DM. And I figured we might as well talk about it, because plenty of other people have talked about it. We might as well go over a little bit of ways to you know, combat it a little bit. So it'll be neat. But before we get there, there's another thing that I want to thrust forward into your face for a second. And that is another little survey thing that I made for the channel. So I'm going to put a link in the chat. The link will be in the description. This is I just want to know what everyone's favorite Table Talk episode was in the past 2 years. And you'll get to do this only once. So choose wisely. Think about it. Or don't. It's really up to you. I don't, you know. I can't control what you do. But let me put that in the chat here. In all seriousness, I'm really glad to be part of the growth of Table Talk from fairly early on. Ever since that first night talking about taking 20 video while I played The Long Dark. Yeah, hell yeah. That's sick. No, it's good to have you. It's good to have everybody. Like, you're all great. Okay, so for those of you on the stream right now, live today, you can do this first. And then I'll go post it in our Discord and stuff afterwards. But that is literally, and I went through and got every single episode and title thing so that you could choose and know which one was which. Because I wasn't just going to put 1 through 95, right? And I didn't include this one because it hadn't happened yet. And it's the first one of the 3rd year, so it doesn't work. So if you want to put who you are or not, go for it. If you want to not even do it, that's also fine. It's just something that I'd like to know. I said I'd do this last year, at the end of last year, and I didn't get around to it, so I'm doing it now, at the beginning of our 3rd. So, take some time if you want. But if not, that is all right. So, but this one could turn out to be my favorite. Oh, shit. That's true. Don't worry about it. No. That's from all last 2 years. I'll do another one at the end of this year. And we'll see what people say. Because I just want to know. I just want to know what people really like to see or like to listen to and all that. I probably should have put like a why, like a description of why you you chose that one, actually, now that I think about it. So don't mind me as I go into it real quick and go and put wait, how do I, here we go. Why was this your choice? Question mark. And then we put it at the very tail end of this. Very good. Alright. So I think that auto saves it or something. You should be able to log back in to do your own response and stuff. We'll look at them probably near the end of the month because of the other thing that's going to be happening. So, yeah. Stay tuned. You'll hear about the other thing in a second. And by a second, I mean in a few hours. So, let's start with the video. So as I said, the topic of burnout is one that everyone has talked about. You just already voted. Hey, that works. Thank you. I think I made it so you can edit your response, actually. Did I do that? Hold on. Let me check. I did not, but now I did. Okay. Anyway, so if you go back to that link, you should be able to. I don't know how this works. I'm sorry. Anyway, I can see your responses from here. Okay, that's neat. Okay, that's cool. Anyway, you know. Hey Lux, how's it going? Evil awakens, I have returned. Very good. So, yeah, anyway, if you have been anywhere on YouTube and you've looked at TTRPG stuff, you would know, hey, the community has talked about burnout because it happens to everybody and everybody wants to talk about it a little bit. And I want to start off by saying burnout, you know, is one of those things that getting over it is going to be something that is depends on the person, how they're going to get over it. For me, like I was saying, I had the burnout for like 6 months. And that was like, oh, I don't actually know like the exact date, but it was sometime after I was in college for the first time. A little while after that, I got super burned out. And 6 months, it wasn't just that, but I also just 6 months just like didn't talk to people for a while and stuff. But it took me a while to get to the point where I felt like I could play D&D again. Because that was the only game that I had played. I had played 3.5, and I owned at that point the DMG and the Player's Handbook. And then it wasn't until I moved down here to Virginia, from Maine, when it wasn't until then that I was in a in a bull moose in Maine, like a little while before I moved. And if anybody knows bull moose, it's a Maine store. I don't know if it's anywhere else. But I was in there and I saw the shiny 5th edition books, right? And then I was like, fuck it, you know, because I was just like, fuck it, I'll just buy these because I want to I want to get back into D&D. You know, it looks nice. I like the artwork. Fuck it. I'll get back in there. And, you know, that's kind of how I got back. Because I felt like 5th edition has been out for a while. I knew about it, but I felt like it was time to try something new. And so I did. And then I played 5th edition a little bit. And then like a year or so after that, so it wasn't like it wasn't 2012. I don't know. I took a while from doing role-playing games. TTRPGs specifically. But and then I played 5th edition for a while, and then after playing 5th edition for a while, I started having gripes, and then I started watching videos about D&D and 5th edition, and then started having gripes about the videos, and then I started the podcast. So, burnout eventually led to the creation of the show. Oddly enough. And on occasion, I still get burned out. I was running a game for some friends, and I didn't want to stop doing the game, but I also couldn't like run the game anymore. It just wasn't something I wanted to do. Just because I was getting tired. And then playing the games, every now and again I'll get burned out from it, and it just takes me, you know, a week or two to get back to it. But I think it's a combination of burnout and some just depression in general, actually. Any video where what roasted the enlightened one, the prior of Gygax, the master of master DMs from the age of 13, 12, don't forget. The Garibay is automatically tops for me. That's fair enough, yeah. Hello, Burnout, my old friend. Burnout sucks, yes. Burnout playing or GMing or both. It has been both. When I play things that aren't D&D, though, I do get less burned out less often. Because I think D&D and I have a bit of a love-hate relationship at this point. Though 3.5 still burns for me like a, you know, with a passion, which is good. But other editions of it seem to be less so. Though I still haven't played 4th, so I don't know about that one. I've played a bit of everything else. And like Pathfinder kind of hits that for me as well. In the sense of burning me out a little bit when I play it. Because it's so similar. Not similar enough to, you know, be very much the same, but it's still similar enough for me to go, eh. And I think it's a combination of the D20 system and the class system and not being a skill system, because we've talked about it, and I've discovered more as we do the show, that the skill-based systems are definitely more my speed, my favorite, because they just feel better to me. That's just how it goes. Why do you like 3.5? Because 3.5, even though it is the class system, the D20 system, the skills themselves, and the amount of customization you can do can really make your character stand out, and all that stuff. So it's more that 3.5, even though it seems restrictive to a lot of people, and we've talked about this before, I think, many a time, but 3.5 to people seems restrictive, but the amount of rules that it has feels freeing to me, because I can do a bunch of things, and like the structure is there, and if I need to refer to that rule or to rules to like build off of it, I don't know, it just feels freeing, because I know the work was put in that I can then work off of. But the skills themselves, you can put the ranks into, and like they synergize and give ranks to each other, and it feels more more specialized, more unique in that respect than something like 5e, where the skills feel very general and anyone can do anything. The restrictions add so much more to me than the catch-all, allowances that 5e does. I think that's why I like 3.5. There might be more to it, I don't know, but that's what I got off the top of my head right now. Well, you know what the illusion of choice and all. With the illusion of choice and all. That's true. Yeah. /s. Yeah. Anyway. So, burnout. Since I went on a tangent for a second, I think there are a few things that we can do to help with that kind of burnout stuff. I guess I'll give my stuff first with regards to a DM and a player. So for DM and a player, actually, this one would work for both, at least in my opinion. Just take some time off, I know when I got super into D&D again, I wanted to play it all the fucking time. I wanted to play like every day, like 3 times a day, like it just hit me that hard to like let's do it. This is so fun, because it's really fun. But that was definitely a rapid like way to get to the point where I didn't want to play anymore, right? So I think taking time off from doing D&D, if you're doing it a lot and you're starting to feel burned out, is the first thing for anyone. Plus, if you don't have the time, probably don't do like 6 different sessions throughout the weeks, right? I think my not gonna lie, when I saw the topic was burnout, I thought this was a not so subtle announcement of a show hiatus. No. Sorry, no, Draco Kraken. I'm sorry to give you that impression. No. The show gives me life. There are some days where I feel a little tired, right? And I don't feel like doing the show. But most of the time, the show is the most fun that I have during my week. So don't you worry about that. Show is not going to go on hiatus unless somebody almost dies again. I joke about that, but fuck me, that would be a really scary thing if that were to happen again. I don't know if I could take that again. So anyway, what was I saying? So I guess for more focused stuff for the DM, because I think of the DM a lot more than I do the player these days, even though I'm both sometimes. For the DM with burnout, planning is one of those things where it depends on how you DM. And if you DM very what's the fucking word? Why can't I think of the word? When you're improvisational. There we go. When your DMing style is more based on improv. When you can like whip it all up immediately and not be, worried about it, I think that's like the least likely to get you to be burned out if you're pretty good at that, right? But those of us who plan a bit more, Aiden is no longer allowed to go near motor vehicles without a helmet and a padded jumpsuit. That's true. You don't know it, but the reason why he's late is because he's taking off all his layers. But the for people who plan a bit more, like I plan a bit more than I improv, though I improv still a bit. Um, if you couldn't tell from all of Astatine, if you've seen that. Um, I give myself a basic framework, and I think this is probably the easiest way to do it without having to stress yourself out about too much. When you plan stuff out, you make a framework, you make it as detailed as you need it to be, but not like super in depth. Um, Obviously, you can do it as much as you want, detail it as much as you want, but if you if you're going to take the time and detail out every single thing, you're going to find yourself absolutely just hating your life a little bit more, I think. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule, but it's one of those things where the vagueness, the amount of room you can have in your framework to work off of will help with like getting the allowing the story to flow, I guess, in a way that makes it less stress inducing, right? Because I think stressing out is also a big part of how a DM can get burned out. And I don't know about any of you guys, but for me, right before a session, every time, if I'm DMing, I feel extremely nervous, like for a good while. It's not to the point of like anything, too bad, but like it's like it's just like that butterflies in your stomach of like, ah, shit, I don't know how this is gonna go. I really hope everything works out. I hope they have fun. Even if I'm assured that people are gonna have fun, it like stresses me out a bit. And so it can kind of add to that whole burnout process, definitely. But so I've been DMing for myself and playing alone at work lately. It feels wrong, but it beats staring mindlessly into the darkness all night. That's fair enough. There are solo adventure stuff as well. As a GM, does it reduce stress and burnout to go to a straightforward combat encounter for a session? I would say it could. It very much could. It depends though, because some people obviously stress out more about combat because combat is like, they could start thinking, oh shit, I don't want to accidentally kill somebody, I really want this combat to go quickly, or hopefully it doesn't slog, there's a lot of aspects in every sort of part of a game, I think, that could, stress a DM out, because like at the end of the day, you're the one running the game, right? And like everybody's putting their faith in you in like making a game that's fun. And as much as, I try to be as laid back as I can be when I DM, I'm still freaking out a bit, right? Every time I do it, cuz it's like, shit, somebody's not going to like this. Like, I know it for a fact, right? And whenever I don't hear that, it doesn't necessarily help me, but it also just goes to that point of like, ah, fuck, what could I do better? And then I need that feedback and all that, and then I don't get that feedback because everybody's like, oh, it's fine. Which I should ask the guys about Astatine, what they would want for feedback, or what they would give me as feedback for that game. Actually, we should get together and do that, because we need to have a post game like chat. I feel like would you guys watch that if we did a stream that was just a post game wrap up with questions and stuff that I could answer about the setting and all that, even though the setting is pretty self-explanatory and all that. Anyway, think about it. That's a whole different topic. Anyway, so I guess we'll We'll hop over to a player thing then, in my brain. War Against Darkness, Destiny Quest, Fabled Lands is fun solo game books. I've heard there's a lot of them. So there's that seems, it seems to be a more there was one that was called like Ironborn or something. I don't remember. I'd have to go find it again. A guy that I was watching that I kept up with for a while. I don't remember what his name was. Shit. Mark something. He DMs for High Rollers. I used to watch him a lot. Anyway, he was doing a stream about it. I'll have to find it at some point. I would, and in general, I would like to hear about what feedback is helpful to GMs without hurting feelings or overwhelming. That's fair enough, yeah. Yeah, we can, okay. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. See if we can get Rogan on for a thing. Or we'll just do it on a Thursday at some point, you know. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Anyway. So for players and burnout, aside from taking the time off, I would say that stress is like one of those big things that's for anybody that would or stress is one of those big things that affects anybody that would get them to kind of burn out more for a game, right? So I think anything that really de-stresses you as a player would help in your combating burnout. Hey Mongoose, how's it going? My wife is first time GMing and always wants feedback from me. She's doing great, but I do want to help her work out rough spots. That's fair enough, yeah. This is the thing. For that kind of stuff, like hurting feelings is something that it's either gonna happen or it's not. At least in my opinion, right? So I could be totally off base. Do take what I say with a grain of salt. But you have to phrase things in such a way that it's not like super confrontational. The classic adage is, of course, the compliment sandwich, right? Where you say a good thing, you say the criticism, and then you say the good thing at the end to soften it a bit if you really need to. I would prefer personally for people to answer my question, right? For me to go, what could I improve? And them to go, oh, well, I think that this went a little slowly or a little poorly, and maybe you could touch that up. And then I'd go, how do you think that I should do that? And then we would have a conversation, right? I try not to let my feelings get in the way, because I know that I'm not good at what I do all the time, right? Like I'm not a perfect DM or anything, so. For feedback, you can try asking people what they liked about the session. They have the mentality that they don't want to complain, but they should be able to come up with something good to say if they're enjoying the game. That's true. And if they can't think of anything, that tells you there's something you need to improve. Yeah, that's also true. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic, sorry. But I guess players, the number one, unfortunately, the only thing that I can think about for players really is the number one thing that causes, at least for me, to burn out is just the like playing too much, right? And so taking time off is really the number one thing. But other than that, I guess if you're starting to feel burned out, maybe it's because of a character that you're playing. You might not be enjoying that character as much as you thought you would, and there's no shame in letting them like retire for a few sessions for you to try out something new and then bring them back later. It depends on the campaign and like current situations and stuff, but I think that's something that could really help reinvigorate you into playing the game. Because say your fighter is you're playing a fighter in D&D, and you've been doing the fighter thing, right? You run in, you hit the guys, you get out, and you have your, I guess, more limited social stuff, if we want to go stereotypical fighter, right? Which, whatever, right? We've talked about this. A fighter can be just as good at RP as anybody else. But let's say that's the case and you're getting kind of bored and you're getting kind of burnt out, and maybe what you need to do is do something radically different, or at least somewhat different, and instead of being a fighter, be a wizard, or be like blade singer, right? That's a wizard type in 5e now. Or a arcane trickster rogue, right? And now I'm thinking 5e. But and that could, like, you could have a different playstyle for that, and then if you really want to, you can go back to your fighter, or you can keep playing this this character that you've made to try to reinvigorate your interest. If that doesn't, then try something else, and like, it's just one of those things where that can, like, variety, right? The spice of life. It's just something that can be used to really get you back into a game. There's one communication tool called Roses and Thorns. After a session, the GM asks the players to say one thing they liked, roses, and one thing they didn't like, thorns. Oh, there you go. That works too, yeah. So, I think my brain can't really think of too many other things to help with burnout, because I'm focusing too much on taking time off. So, let's say we actually move on to the video where they can make my brain think of other things that I might not be thinking of right now. And we can go there. Also, this is only relevant to forum roleplay, but when you start with writing super long posts, it makes it easier to get burned out on that. I've run into that a lot. You know, that actually reminds me of maybe if you're getting burnt out, it might be because you're taking the lead too much. So, in the sense of being a player, right? There are some groups where, like, I've had this happen where I've been the person who talks, right? Like, because I you know, do my character, right? And then I talk a lot because that's what my character does. And so I talk, and then I talk a lot, and then I get into, like, I seem to be the initiator and everything. And so maybe taking more of a back seat and letting other people kind of get in before you, whether or not it's maybe as relevant to what your character would do, right? Because maybe they are the talker, right? They would talk before anybody else. But giving them, like, going against that and actually allowing other people to use their characters to talk a lot more might actually help with the burnout as well. So there you go. Thank you, Lux. You've inspired my brain. This is why we do the show, so my brain gets inspired so I can talk about these things. Anyway, let's move on to the video. And while we're, like, watching it, I think Aiden will pop in. So I'll be on the lookout. So here we go. This video is called Burnout in Dungeons and Dragons by Play Your Role. We've covered Play Your Role, I think, once. It was, I don't remember, but I remember them using a 3D printer. So we will see how this goes. It's only a 10.5-minute video, so we'll see what we get.
Dungeons and Dragons is very important to me and has been a very important part of my life, and I'm pretty sure that that's no big surprise. I mean, just a quick cursory glance at my YouTube channel and the fact that I tend to be a little more vulnerable than I probably should in my videos about these kind of things makes it incredibly obvious. It's been an outlet for me where I didn't have one. It's been an ability to explore things that I never had the chance to explore. It's been very good for me, but it's also been detrimental. I think D&D is an amazing tool to be able to experience things you've never had and help with your mental health, but at the same time, It's a tool, and a tool can be used for dangerous things as well as good ones. I want to talk about exactly what D&D has done for me and the dangers to avoid. I want to talk about how Dungeons and Dragons is a way to truly explore yourself in the right environment. So
this is, we'll see how this goes, but this is a lot deeper than Burnout so far. Okay.
Let's talk about that.
And I will say, I don't disagree so far at all, really. I've talked about it before. D&D can be very helpful in exploring stuff and getting you to think about more stuff, but if this becomes really personal, I might find a different video, unfortunately. Because, you know, there's not much that I can add to that, to a very, very personal video, but we'll see. Because titles, man. Titles.
I'll start this off with my usual disclaimers. The fact is, I'm not an expert on any of this. I'm not an expert on mental health. I'm not an expert on Dungeons and Dragons. I've been playing for a very long time, and I do understand people to a certain level. But never take anything I say as law, because the truth is, I'm really not an expert in, well, anything. In fact, you could just call me a jack of all trades, but certainly a master of none. So with that being said, it's very obvious that I don't want you to take everything I say as law. This video is for a conversation. It's for me to be able to get my thoughts out there. It's not just to be something that you take and run with. But with my usual yada yada disclaimers out of the way, here's what I want to talk about today. Dungeons and Dragons allowed me to be able to explore who I truly was when nothing else in my life ever did. See, I grew up in a religious background, as a lot of people who play D&D usually have, and there have been many times where I've looked back and wished that I had D&D when I was growing up, as it would have been an amazing outlet for my creative urges that I just never got. Growing up, I was considered the sporty kid, which is funny now that I think about it, as I'm pretty short and kind of scrawny. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, specifically Korean Taekwondo, and I taught Korean Taekwondo for many years, as well as learning a few different martial arts on the side in a non-
Okay. So, my problem here is not with the video, right, so far. Not with anything he said. My problem here is when somebody is really getting very personal, I find it harder for myself to, for my, I guess I don't want this to be a video about, I thought this was a video about burnout, right? Burning out the game, getting burnout and when you're playing the game and how to get over that. Not to say there isn't anything we could bounce off of and learn from the video itself. He's already touched on some points that I also that have felt in my life. So quite literally so far, most of them, except for being a Taekwondo or an instructor. I was into Taekwondo, coincidentally enough. It's very strange. But I'm distracted by the 3D printer. That's fair. That's the video. That's how his videos go. It seems, at least. We've only covered one other one. But my the title, Burnout is in D&D. Content, show me where the doll D&D touched you. On the doll. No, so this is the thing. This is very personal, and I don't want to make fun of it because it's that personal, right? I could talk about this as well in the sense of, yeah, I also came from the same background. I also found the same like thing in D&D where creativity is like super awesome, right? And I wish that I had had it as a kid. I had heard about it when I was a kid, but everybody was like, oh, don't do that. You're a nerd if you do that. You're so weird and uncool and stuff because of the stigma, right? Before it got to be popular, it was one of those things where it was like, yeah, don't like. I even had a good friend in high school who tried to get myself and a friend of mine into it for a second. He tried to run a session for us, and you know, my other friend who wasn't running it, who was playing with me, was like, this is a little much, right? And so I kind of was like, so I didn't really think twice about it, because I didn't want to look, you know, weird. But this is far from the topic of today. So I apologize, player role, but I'm gonna have to veto this. I guess this is why I got into forum roleplaying, because no one has to know. That's fair enough. It's always frustrating to me as a very religious person when people got their creativity stifled by their parents' interpretation of their faith. It's sad and doubly because it is not the real faith. There's many things that I could say to that, but I don't feel like going into it, you know? Tolkien was a serious Catholic after all. It's true. It is true. But, you know, that's a whole different topic, right? Maybe someday we'll go through that. Maybe. I doubt it, though, because I don't know if the other guys really want to get into that. I would love to talk about it personally, but it's one of those things that it's a landmine, and it would be bad for anything, really, because people don't want to talk about that, really. So anyway, we're gonna veto this video, unfortunately. So let me move on to the other video that I had prepared. So I apologize. I wish that video was more relevant to the conversation that I want to have today. But for now, if it is, we'd have to wade through some stuff that is not part of the conversation that I want to have right now. So let us move on. Gygax was a Jehovah's Witness. Is that true? I didn't know that. Neat. All right. So
DM burnout.
Oh my god. This video that we're moving on to is called How to Prevent DM Burnout by Jetpack7. Guess I'll save the video for myself and see what it's about. Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. If you guys want to like look at it and go watch it, the link will be, I'll put it in the description. But it is called Burnout in Dungeons and Dragons by Player Roll. I'll put it in the description of the VOD, and I'll put it in the description of the stream right now, actually. So that if you want to go save it, go check the description, and it should be right there. Because I assume that it's a very heartfelt tale about how D&D has helped the guy, and like that's great. I love it. I was actually talking to somebody that I hadn't talked to for a while, who was telling me that D&D helped them as well, very much so in a trying time, and I was like, that's great, dude. I'm glad that it did. But it's one of those, again, I don't want to seem like I'm trying to shy away from this topic or trying to I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. I don't want the video itself to like be looked at as bad or anything because I'm moving on from it. It is just not on topic, right? Anyway, how to combat burnout, sex, drugs, and rock and roll could be. Depends on what you want, you know? Wait, those can cause more burnout, never mind. So, this is How to Prevent DM Burnout by Jetpack7. We covered, I think, one Jetpack7 video before. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, here we go.
DM burnout is a universal truth. No DM is immune to its damage. This week, I discuss 9 tips specifically for Dungeon Masters on how to avoid getting bitten by the burnout bug.
Okay.
Hello players and GMs, I am Reese, and welcome to another video by Jetpack7. Before we get started, I just want to ask everyone to take a quick moment to hit the subscribe button. I know every single YouTuber asks this, but that's because it really does make a huge difference for the channel. It gives me...
It's been 34 seconds! I understand that this is the way that we do things here, but... I hate it! Hate the algorithm so much. I get it. In a way, you can say you're respecting the video's deeply personal character by not trying to shoehorn it in here. Yes, well, so that's the thing. I had an impression that it would be something that it doesn't seem like it is at the moment. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But at the moment, I don't want to go through somebody's very personal story. if it was like part of like the middle of the video, we'd go through it. That's fine. But it doesn't feel like it's where it feels like it's more of a D&D helped me with my burnout in life, right? My burnout of life, and not this is my burnout in D&D, right? So anyway, titles. Not gonna hit that. Could get cooties. Yeah, the subscribe button is a scary thing. You should be careful. You should watch your content first before you even think about subscribing. Maybe have a thought.
A lot of encouragement from a personal standpoint to see that people support the channel enough to actually do that, but it also helps us navigate the YouTube algorithm that is growing more and more complex by the day. The one thing that hasn't changed is that the number of subscribers a channel has directly affects the visibility of the videos. So if you want to help me out, that is absolutely the best possible way to do it, and I would appreciate it so dang much.
I will say, on like in response to this, of course, yes, this is how it works. I'm not necessarily angry at just you for doing this. I'm angry at the fact that this is how the system itself works, and it has to make people that want to be successful and like get their things out there do this. I don't want to do this, and I won't. Right? Like, I hate it. At least it's not Burnout Shadow Legends. That's true. Any of you played Burnout Paradise? That was a fun game.
This week, I wanted to talk to all of the DMs out there who, like me, play a lot of D&D. There were points in my life when I was playing upwards of 3 games a week and DMing another game on top of that. It was absolute madness and definitely resulted in some serious D&D burnout. It was just way too much. And over time, I've gotten much better at managing that feeling of burnout, but once it's there, it's pretty dang hard to get rid of. So I have found that the best way to manage DM burnout is to be proactive and take steps to prevent yourself from feeling it at all. And that is what I'm going to talk about this week. 9 steps you can take to keep your games of D&D fresh and you, the DM, excited.
The second fucking, yeah, okay. The second time where the main topic of the video is said, because you've probably forgotten it at this point because he's talked too much about. Anyway, there's a term for really long off-topic intros. They're called Wadsworths. Ooh, I didn't know there was a term for it. Hey, Kill Chrono, what's up? Welcome to the digital dystopia. Please like, comment, and subscribe to put food on my table. So, well, that's the thing. I understand, because this is ultimately a job for a lot of people at the end of the day, so they're trying to not die, you know? And I get that. That's fine. I understand that you need to do it for the hustle. That's why I'm saying I'm not mad at the person, I'm mad at the system. Burnout Paradise was fire? Fuck yeah. Anytime a video starts with this, oh please hit my pretty red button and press the likey button, are videos I immediately skip. So I don't do that anymore because, again, I've said it a million times at this point. I understand, but it does make it harder for me to, like, want to subscribe or watch more videos. But that's the world we live in now. It's no more my day at the zoo. It's now, you hit the button, look at my clickbait, right?
To run them. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Please.
The first tip is a pretty obvious one, but one that can actually be more difficult if your playgroup is particularly active. Play less frequently.
Okay.
And I don't just mean DM less frequently, I mean play D&D less frequently as a player or as a DM. Just cut down on the amount of D&D in your life. Now obviously, if you don't want to do this and you don't feel as though the amount of D&D you're playing is contributing to any burnout, then this tip may not be necessary for you. But I've found that in periods when I'm playing a lot and DMing even a little bit, I've just played so much D&D that I'm not as excited to run the games as I would normally be.
And that's perfectly fair. I think that's Aiden. Hang on. Oh, it is. Hello, sir.
Greetings, Sir Alejo, my friend.
For some reason, I'm slightly less sure about that last statement, but go on.
Also, hello to you out there in the audience, people who occasionally give me money.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
and to everyone else, sup, I guess.
The links that you require are provided.
Thank you.
Uh,
I was like, you know what will make Alejo fucking hate this bit?
mm,
I will be in shortly. First, I must do that and advertise myself.
mm.
Oh, I like your burnout thing.
Thank you.
The
It's okay.
the candle. It's a good one actually. Very thematic.
Okay. Good. I'm glad.
Compliments to the chef.
Thank you. I took I want to say about 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're talking about
right. Yeah, watch together.
Yes, we're talking about burnout. This video, we skipped the first one that I had planned because it seemed like it was less about burnout of D&D and more about burnout of life and D&D helping.
Okay, yeah.
So we're on DM tips to have less burnout.
So this is the beginning of year 3?
Yes, this is the beginning of year 3. Yes.
So, Alejo,
Yeah.
I would like to officially wish you happy anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary to you too.
I definitely did not forget until literally, like, you messaged us in the group chat a few
Right.
days ago.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I wouldn't expect that you would have forgotten that. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, what selfish individual would do that?
Right, of course.
Jesus. Sorry, I recall the anniversaries of things I care about.
That's fair.
And how, like, I am really on this show. I'm only a guest speaker, like, the weeks that I happen to be alive.
Oh, that's a tip. Oh my god. What was that? Oh, Steely tipped $2. Steely tipped $2 and said this is Aiden's fault. God damn it.
Can you refund that? I feel bad.
I very much don't know, actually.
I kind of feel bad.
I'm also going to move the donation thing more centralized so that it shows up a little bit easier for people who watch. Because I didn't think that it showed up very well there. Well, you've done this.
No,
You've done this.
All right, you know what? It's $2. That's $1 for you and $1 for Boo. I don't deserve
That's going to the
any
dice
of that
fund,
money.
dude. Don't worry, all the
Okay.
money's going to the dice fund.
Okay, okay, it can go to the dice fund.
Well, anyway, few things in chat here. It just tells me the person cares more about the numbers than the content. Yes, I mean, well, again, it's just how it is, you know. At this point, you kind of gotta accept it a little bit. I'll still complain about it, but I do accept that it is now the way that things are.
How has the video been so far?
We have gotten 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and within 34 minutes, he said, "Subscribe, please," and explained exactly why you should subscribe.
Within 34 minutes?
34 seconds, sorry, 34 seconds.
I mean, I used to have the opinion of front-loading, comment, like, and subscribe, and smash that like button. I used to have more of a harsh opinion of it until Brogan was like, no, literally, that's how system works.
It is how the system works, but I criticize it more because the system is the way that it is than because of the person needing to do it. That's my take on it now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wish I had enough spare time to play less frequently. It was a viable problem for me. Yeah, that's fair. Wait, Aiden likes us more with money. Let's give him more. Nah, not right now.
No.
Bills to pay. Sigh. It's Sorry, Draco Kraken. Please don't. You already give enough. Don't. Okay. Anyway, so this first tip that he has given us is play less frequently. If you're a DM or a play, sorry, if you are a DM and you play and DM a lot, do it less. It'll make you burn out less. Which I go, okay, yes.
So, okay, you know what? I feel like every week I have a new, like, the theme of every week. I have something relevant for that theme.
Okay.
This past Saturday, the session that I DM,
Yep.
we played, it was going to be a longer session, because I was calling out of work because a snowstorm was coming.
Yep.
And I was kind of like not feeling work anyway, and I was like, can I like not work because the last time I drove in the snow like this to work, I died.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of laid the guilt a bit, but hey, got the day off.
Yeah.
And I told everyone, hey, we're gonna do a like. Normally we start at 9:30 a.m. and quit around noon.
Sure.
So we play for 2.5 hours, but we were gonna do like a 5 or 6 hour session.
Holy shit. Yeah.
And we were gonna go a bit farther because I was like, hey, there's a particular point in the story where I want you to be at.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
And everyone was like, it sounds cool. That then 13 hours later, we got to that point.
Holy fuck.
We met at 9:30 and we started playing at 10:30.
Okay, yeah.
And we played until 10:30 that night. When one of us had to leave because it was because of time zones. It was 2 a.m. where he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, it's 2 a.m. where I am. Can we like wrap this up? And then it finally he wound up going to bed. It was like 6 a.m. where he was.
Jesus Christ.
And at 10:30 he left, and I was like, yeah, the main events of the night are over anyway. And the rest of the time was them both characters just kind of shooting the shit and talking to one particular NPC.
Yep.
And that went from 10:30 to, I believe it was 1. So I was officially DMing for like 13 hours, but like in terms of like I was going from like 9:30 to 1, which is like what 18 24 minus 8, 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And golly, like we're taking next Saturday off.
Makes
because
sense.
Golly, I need a break, and also to write.
Yeah, fair. I see how this works. Aiden feels bad, then I feel bad that he feels bad, then he feels bad that I feel bad, then I feel bad that he feels bad that I feel bad. It only ends with beer. It doesn't snow here. I'm sorry, Indigo. I like snow. It snows here. Okay. It hasn't been too bad. Although whenever there's a dusting, like the entire state shuts down basically because they can't handle it. Actually, they go basically on a basis of a specific county that has really bad roads. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I can with the way that like with going for long periods of time for sessions, I used to do that a lot with a group of friends that I have, and we would play until like midnight or 1. On like Fridays, and man, that drains you after a while. It's crazy.
By the way, actually, Alejo,
Yeah.
I was like that Saturday. I was like, yeah, this was the longest session I think I've ever been a part of for D&D, except for one time when we did a session where, from when we woke up till we went to bed, we played D&D, and it was for the first campaign that we ever played. You and me were in. Because I remember we finished off his campaign
Yeah.
It was like a super long session, but wasn't that still from like 9 to 8?
Maybe, yeah. I can.
Cause I remember we had time after this session was done to kind of wind down.
Yeah. I think so. Because I don't remember it being like super late, but I can. I have the old
Oh,
recordings
the
somewhere.
recordings, yes.
Yeah, so let me see if I can find the very last one.
Because I remember talking to Mason about Rocker.
Yeah.
Um and him being like, yeah, it reminds me of basically Nargacuga.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I have the very old. So I remember I split it up into parts because they were so long, and at the time I was not with the whole putting everything in one part meta of like what I do now. Um
Mhm.
so I couldn't tell you
You
exactly how long.
hadn't undergone that character growth yet.
No, I hadn't undergone. Well, I guess it's character growth. Character growth in a way. I got lazier. Yeah. Um, but it was like in 1 hour chunks and stuff. So I'd have to find it like the actual file somewhere because I know I still have it somewhere. I think. If not, it's gone forever and it's just part of the YouTube videos that I have unlisted. Um, but yeah, it's there. So I'll get you that information maybe at some point if I remember.
Kindly.
Okay. Anyway, I like snow when I don't have to drive, but it always snows on days when I have to drive. Well, that's fair enough. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
My downtime gets so saturated with D&D that it kind of becomes all I think about, either from a player perspective or a DM perspective, and that ends up bogging me down quite a bit. I have found that the easiest way to prevent that from happening is to just be a bit more selective of which campaigns I am playing in and which campaigns I am DMing. My limit is 2 games a week lately, though that can fluctuate depending on the month, but 2 a week has been a pretty consistent amount of D&D that doesn't wear me out, but still allows me to scratch the DM and the player itch every week. My next tip is in the same vein as the last in regards to overexposing yourself to D&D. Play shorter sessions. I can't stress this enough, the human attention span can only last so long, and when you've been in a game for 4 hours or more, things start to get chaotic, to say the least. Not to mention the fact that you're usually playing at night, so by the time that many hours have passed, it's probably getting pretty late into the evening. Every now and then, of course, it's fine to have a super long session, but I found that most of the time, I actually lean towards having the shortest possible session that still allows me and the players to craft a cohesive story. The way I see it, each session of D&D is like a chapter in a book. I like each session to have a solid beginning, middle, and end, and so really the amount of time I need to do that is anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours max. That's it.
Okay. I was hoping you would give an exact time frame because otherwise I was gonna go. Huh? So yeah. I mean, it can. It's just the same point again of the first point. Really. You play less D&D. And I think it's a lot harder. Well, it's not harder as the DM to kind of just wrap a session up whenever you need it to be. But sometimes in the moments, like you said, you can have longer sessions, and that's fine. I know for us, for our Thursday stuff, we usually end somewhere around midnight because
Yeah.
You have to work, and the rest of us want to die at some point, and
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, something like that. It's a temporary death. We wake up the next day. And so it's just, and it usually is somewhere from 2 to 3 hours. So it's, I guess, short enough. I don't get tired of it though. Well, That's not true. Sometimes I do feel just completely burned out and tired, just because, you know, if you do something a lot, you'll sometimes feel that way. So there's some days where I just go, I'm tired, I gotta sleep, and then we all go, cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I think among our group, the consensus has been like, dude, there's just some weeks where it's just not gonna happen.
Exactly. And that's been helping a lot, actually. Like, keeping me at least, to wanting to keep playing. Because it's just like, I don't feel that pressure.
Yeah. The second that you feel, the need of like, okay, like when it becomes an obligation,
Yes.
it will become a chore.
Exactly. Hey Mug, how's it going? I've never gotten above a session a week. That's fair enough, yeah. That's dare I say, that's healthy. I think that's okay. I think you're on the right track. Whether or not you want more than a session a week, though, that is the question.
Any more than that, and you risk.
I think everyone is sort of due for the scenario of, I want to play more D&D, so I play more D&D, and then like, because how to put this, you everyone goes through a point in their life where they don't see D&D and playing a lot of it as too much of a good thing.
Yes.
And then because of that, everyone eventually will reach a point where they burn the fuck out.
Yes.
And you know, I'm sitting here being a part of 3 sessions, going, haha, yeah. But I would be lying if I said that when I see people are like, yeah, I can't do any more than like 2 sessions a week, man. I'm barely able to do that. Or, oh yeah, no, I feel I would burn out if I did 2 sessions a week. I see that, and like the Principal Skinner, like, pathetic. It goes in my mind.
Sure.
But yeah, no, like I'm there like in each session, and like I'm 2 sessions are 5e, 1 session is 3.5. Like, I'm trying to keep additions straight. I'm like, yeah, though, I'm like, roll me a listen check. And my players are like, oh, you mean a perception? And I think that because I make this mistake so often, my players have just like learned at this point.
Good.
And they're like, oh, spot and listen got like merged into perception. It's like insight works this way in 5e, like. And I feel like they've learned 3.5 secondhand.
Good. Yes.
This is where I will pull the 7,000 IQ move of next campaign will be 3.5.
Right. And then they'll go, wait, I understand this.
Yeah. And they were literally in the 13-hour session, grappling came up, and they're like, can I grapple this? Like, how do the rules in 5e like grappling work? I'm like, dude, I don't fucking know. 5e has horrible grappling rules.
5e goes, hey, you grappled the guy. Now he can't move, but he can still do anything else.
Yeah.
Nice. Take the feat, otherwise you can't do more. It's great. Really good.
But yeah, I would sitting here on the other side of a 13-hour session.
Yeah.
You can play shorter sessions. It does help you avoid burnout, just because like kind of feeling burnt out.
But
But a good portion of that isn't because I'm like tired of the world and like need a break or anything like that. So it's not really a true burnout so much as it is they have caught up to where I have written notes. And I need to prepare new notes. I need to prepare new towns, new NPCs, new like side quests. But because that's just kind of how I do writing in general. I don't so much write consistently so much as I write in chunks.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. The problem I have is I GM most of my sessions, and I honestly don't have time to plan more than one a week. So I wouldn't be able to plan more than one at a time, let alone run them. And that's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, if I'm DMing, it takes me all week to plan for the next session, not because I plan a lot, just because I'm slow. That's also fair, yeah.
Also fair.
Yeah. I've been thinking whether I have had burnout for D&D ever, and it now makes sense because I don't think I've ever gotten a game more frequent than a session a month. Oh, well, there you go, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
You'll be fine. Am I out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong. Yes. I have to watch D&D streams to get my fix. That's also something that it helps. I don't know if it's just me, but it helps me sometimes to, I guess, get back into wanting to play by watching somebody else play. Because it's just, I don't know, getting that whole, like, watching a story happen in front of you that's being, told very naturally is just neat,
Yeah.
So it makes me excited to do that again.
When the rogue in my campaign started playing D&D, she was like, this is her first campaign. And she was like very much like, yeah, I find it absolutely really cool, but was still very like new to the idea of role playing. And was like, I don't know how, like, if D&D's for me, just because role playing feels super unnatural.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
And I just said, like, give it time. You're not going to know after session 1 if it is or not. Like, role playing's an acquired taste.
Yes.
And you will need to give it time to know if you are going to acquire it or not.
Yes.
Or
the style that you're going to do as well.
Yeah, or even the style. So that was just kind of like the end of it for a while because she seemed to be having fun in the session, but it was also a good way to keep in contact with a lot of friends that we've all kind of gone our separate ways. So I was like, yeah, it's just that. And then literally like 2 weeks ago, she was like, yeah, no, I was watching Fantasy High the other day. I'm like, isn't that a D&D thing? And she's like, yeah, I've been listening to like 2 or 3 different like D&D podcasts. And I'm like, my heart swelled with pride.
Yeah. I guess I learned about Thaco from computer games. Fair, yeah. My brain still doesn't want to make sense of it. 3.5 grapple, aka I did a small university course just to understand this one mechanic. It's not that bad. You do your attack, and then if you hit, then you get counterattacked, and if they hit, then you don't grapple. And then if you don't get hit, then you continue. It's fine. I understand. It is rather complex.
Getting tired, losing focus, the players may start losing interest, things just start to drag on, and it isn't as great of an experience. I love D&D, but I don't want to spend an extra hour or two in an unfocused, unorganized, unproductive mess. And allowing yourself to consistently fall into those super long sessions can cause some serious burnout from my
real quick, just a quick side note. I do not appreciate his claim of spend an hour or two in an unproductive mess. Like, yes, you can have longer sessions that are unproductive, But as for instance, the 13-hour session, they cleared out the next month of content.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, I don't think that's ever unproductive. Like, in the sense of, like, a grand scheme, I think that in any session you can have character building, you can have objectives that you've cleared, either personal or campaign oriented. It really just depends on the session, you know? Like, I've never once gone through one and went, we didn't do anything, like, and meant it. More just as the joke of we went shopping, right? Like, that's what we did. But it was still like, we talked to each other, we talked to NPCs, we got items. Like, there was a lot of stuff for prep, you know, and those kinds of things. But it's not like completely useless.
yeah, like if you're playing a 13 or however long hour session, there's a reason behind that.
Yeah.
Like, no psychopath just sits down and goes like, oh boy, 3 a.m., time to play 7 hours of D&D.
Right, exactly.
Like, something's happening. Like, you're facing, like, a boss, or,
Right.
like, the big bad evil guy or something.
Right. The main thing that burns me out in the short term, as in towards the end of a single session, is that I have trouble doing character dialogue. That's definitely something I could use help with. As it is, social encounters can exhaust me after a bit. That's fair enough. Because, like, for me, I could literally listen and talk all session. For me, that's my favorite part. There's nothing better than it. For my taste, right? Because I just love going through a character's mind and interacting with things, because it's just, what's going to happen because of my words, and can I continue to use these words to continue to have stuff happen? I don't know. It's just super exciting to me, and I very much like talking. In case you didn't notice, I started a podcast, and so it's just the thing that I really like doing. But for a lot of people I know for a fact, yeah, it's one of those things that can be very tiring, because it's like, I mean, the average person who isn't a failed YouTuber like me, fucking doesn't just talk to themselves while they play a game all day, all the time, and then post it online, you know? It's literally, it's one of those things that is a lot harder for people that don't want to do that.
I would actually disagree with you a bit there.
Okay.
Minor contention. Because I also don't have an issue with role playing out, like, for long periods of time. But that is just because my characters are, like, very simple.
Okay.
Like, so for instance, Morty, me just but more socially awkward, and has a caffeine addiction, which I already borderline have a caffeine addiction and I'm socially awkward. So like, I just kind of dial both of those up to 11, and I speak like this. For Boris, it's just a few hours of being a scumfuck, you know? And because I play characters that are very easy to do, I can do them for longer periods of time.
Okay.
So I would was that Mog who said that?
No, that was Steely.
Steely. So yeah, Steely, definitely, some more characters that can be more complicated can absolutely be really fun to do. I haven't played characters that are too different from me, just because I'm a hack, and also a baby bitch coward. But maybe sort of consider like honing you in your craft, like strengthening your muscles with characters that are closer to you, and getting experience playing them for longer time or
Mhm.
for a longer time, and then slowly start doing characters that are less and less like you.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know how that would work.
I don't know.
If that would be successful advice or not. I have no idea, but it would be a cool experiment.
Yeah, I guess
And
oh, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, and get back to me when you find the results of this homework I have given you.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, like all my characters have an aspect of me in them that I've picked out for them.
Yeah.
So I guess that also adds to the fact that I can just be them a little easier. And know how they would think a little bit easier. So it's not as hard for me to kind of come up with the dialogue that they would have. Plus, I have that notion of who they are after session one, usually, because I have the concept beforehand, and then once I'm after that session, then it's like, okay, I kind of understand who this person is. And so then I can work off that.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, it's not all just most of my my comments before, most of it was a joke. Most. um but yeah, no, it's I also think though that that I don't know, I think that doing more, like, cuz speaking to other people is taxing. God, it's so taxing in a lot of instances, just in real life. For me, because I don't want to talk to other people most of the time. In most situations, so I very much avoid it. As much as I need to, and then I give the information that I need to give, unless I'm with friends that I can actually like talk about more things that I'm interested in, right?
Mm-mm.
And so that becomes less tiresome and less taxing, though it can be after I talk about it for hours and hours on end, obviously. But you know, I think if I were to attempt more to talk to people that I don't talk to as much, it would help me maybe in the long run as well, just to like get that stamina of talking a little bit more. I don't know.
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Um, I used to listen to No Direct podcasts, Pathfinder, for a while. I liked the crunch. I don't know a No Direct. I will look them up later. Um, I'm the I'm the psychopath that would wake up at 3 a.m. to play D&D. Good mug, yes.
Oh boy, 3 a.m.
I might be the psychopath who says, "Oh boy, 3 a.m. time to play 7 hours of Dynasty Warriors," says Lux. Fair enough, yeah. I really want to do social encounters, but I'm still not good at it. Eventually, I'd like to learn how to do it more smoothly. And take Aiden's advice, maybe. I don't know. I do have a caffeine addiction. Well, good. It's the legal drug, so good, I guess. Mongers.
It is. I have a literal bottle of coffee I'm looking at.
Hey. Steely says, thanks. Note, play me, but with more larceny and vandalism. Yes. Play you, but crime. Add crime. It's always good. I will say that eventually we'll want to do things that I built my character to be able to do, so the social encounters will wear out the welcome sooner or later. Though I do feel proud of myself when I dupe an NPC. Fair enough, yeah. And yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, everybody has their limit of talking, right? Is kind of the way it is. Sorry, known direction. Okay. I'm sure I would have gotten there in the end. Anyway, maybe we get to point 3? Maybe? Huh. The funniest part about it is that I hate coffee. Oh, that's fair enough. either tea or energy drinks or whatever. You got many ways to get that shit.
Experience. As you all probably know, much of a DM's job actually takes place outside of the session in preparation, which is the subject of my third tip: don't over-prepare. The reasons for this are twofold. First of all, it just takes too much time. Prepping is already tiring and time-consuming and can be a pretty big cause of DM burnout even without spending way too much time doing it. I have found myself preparing so many things in a campaign that the players would never in a million years investigate, but I felt the need to put a bunch of time and effort into it just in case they did run into it. Instead of just relying on my improv to carry me through the bits and pieces where I needed it, I wanted to try and be prepared for literally every possibility. And without fail, my players found possibilities that I didn't account for, and I used my improv anyway without touching the stuff I prepared. That's how it always will be. Don't try to change it. The second reason is that over-preparing can make the sessions themselves more exhausting for the DM. When you prep stuff, it's generally because you're anticipating that your players get there to whatever it is that you prepped. And as we know, players usually don't go where we expect. So when you've put a bunch of time into prepping stuff and the players start to look like they have no intention of going there, it kind of makes you want to urge the players in one direction or the other instead of just letting go of the reins and letting your prepared bit fall to the wayside. It can be tough, especially since you're now put in a position where you either let your players do what they want, which is ideal, or you kind of railroad them into doing this thing you spent hours preparing. It's a bit of a lose-lose and can add some unneeded stress to a session. So yeah, just relax, don't spend too many hours preparing, keep things loose and open, and I think you'll have a much easier time running the game.
Yeah,
A
little bit.
There is nothing wrong with the words of what he said, but I find myself disagreeing with the message.
Okay. So I think my only contention would be, if you want to prepare all that, go for it. It might burn you out more, but you might take more, I guess, pride in the fact that you have all these things prepared, even if they aren't going to necessarily go to that thing. Your personal world building is, you're going to find as much, enjoyment or success from it as you want to. And if you're basing that off of them visiting this thing, you can obviously, we've talked about transplanting some things. So if you really want to, you can do that. But I also think, and my thing of players will just miss things sometimes is totally fine.
Yeah, I would, basically you addressed my contentions that, speaking personally, I do prep stuff like that, and I also do take pride that, I have literally planned stuff out that I happen to know for a fact that my players will never go to.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the off chance that if they do,
Mm-hmm.
I will rub my hands and go, oh boy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, legitimately, today I planned out, I planned out the rough story beats for, a drag show at a cabaret. That my players will almost definitely never go to, but if they do,
there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, totally. I got you. I don't really like coffee by itself, but I do like some coffee with my sugar. Ah, you're one of those. I see. I have only coffee. I don't put anything in it anymore. I used to, but I don't anymore.
I just saw something new and wanted to try it.
That's fair. Remember, no plan survives contact with the enemy, and your players are the enemy. In this scenario, yes. I don't like tea either. Don't ask me why, because I don't know. It's okay, Mongoose. Again, many ways for you to get that fix. Caffeine fix.
To be fair, Mongoose, drinking tea and coffee are actually bad for you because they the constant ingestion of hot liquids like that
Hmm.
is a constant irritation to your esophageal lining.
Oh.
And what happens when you have constant irritation? Cancer.
Nice. Oh, Lux also said, I don't like kidney stones so much, though. Fair enough, yeah. With all the sugar? This is why you go cold brew coffee. Or cold iced tea. Hey. Or you just drink a fucking Monster every day or whatever. Not sponsored.
But please, Monster.
Well, I'd rather not.
We're here, Monster.
I haven't. Well, no, that's not true. Actually, if they wanted, the coffee monsters are actually pretty good. I think about it. Anyway,
yeah, the salted caramel one.
yeah, those are so fucking good. Oh my god, they're always gone. They're always gone, dude.
Legit, like
You introduced those to me. Yeah,
I did.
You fucker.
It was me.
It was you.
I legit like picked up a can for Alejo and I'm like, dumb bitch. And then I gave it to you and you were like, wow, this is really good. I'm like, yeah, I know.
You bastard. You made me discover that I love the taste of caramel. You fucking asshole.
First one's free.
Yeah, I know. And literally every time I see it, I'm like, I need that. So I get it. You bitch.
Every time you see the can full of carrageenan and go,
Anyway. I can agree to number 3 so much because of now having to do my games over a virtual tabletop. I spend so much time prepping. I get so tired putting in the time and shit falling apart. That's fair enough. I mean, so this is the thing, and like we've said it before, the way that I like to prep and the way that prepping can be very, very, I guess, less stressful and very much less stressful, as well as still gives you that guideline for prep that you can still fill in the blanks, is just to have an outline or a guideline for you to follow of where the players will go and all that stuff. But of course, you know, if you want to go into detail, feel free. But if it's causing you harm, then I don't know. Maybe take some time and go, hey man, there's an outline here. I don't know. I'd be more inclined to suggest planning a lot of contingencies and embracing the fact that they won't see all of them. Yeah. I like iced tea, no sweetener. So, oh god, I like the, and again, not sponsored, but I like Arizona lemon iced tea. That's my thing. Since I'm in Virginia, sweet tea is a thing here, and god, that sucks. Oh, it's so gross. Ugh.
way too sweet.
It's not even sweet. That's the thing. It's so weird. Every time I've had it, it just tastes like, I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's not sweet to me. It tastes alien. I don't understand. So, you know. I'm sorry to have derailed the conversation. No, you're good. Don't worry about it. We do that to ourselves all the time. Why not also let you?
Legit, yeah. But
have you seen the show? No, I know. I know you have.
Well, I don't know about down where you are, but up here in the north, the southern sweet tea is sweet.
So, well, it's the same. It's the same thing. I tasted it back when I tasted sweet tea up there, and when I taste sweet tea down here, it's the same thing. And I don't know why the fuck it tastes so weird. It just doesn't taste like sweet. It tastes like, I can't even, I'd have to have it again to describe it to you, because I'm remembering it, but like I can't formulate the words, you know? Like it's just anyway, I'm not gonna drink it again though if I can help it.
I love it when someone says, no, this thing is different from how you think, and I say, oh, okay, well then how is it? And they say, I don't know.
Because I don't know what to compare. Like, okay, let me. It tastes like. It tastes like it's way more solid. But it's. Oh God, shut up. Anyway, next. Next thing. I've been free of caffeine for a month now. Went cold turkey. Good for you, Slay. Good for you. Little did he know it was Aiden, the coffee kid, all along. That's right.
I poured a little coffee in your sweet tea every time.
I like water. Good. I also like water. Water, good.
This next tip is a bit of a subcategory for the previous one. Use third-party resources. And this isn't just an opportunity for me to shamelessly plug our books like Legendary Dragons, a book with 20 named dragons with amazing backstory, stat blocks, and tips on how to add them into the game, or our book Masters and Minions that has a series of bosses from levels 1 to 20, all with stat blocks, minion stat blocks, tips on how to run them, and put them into your campaigns. Founded by is also an opportunity for our book Masters.
I wanted to say, that's cool. I didn't know you had books. Very cool. I've never seen them. I've never heard of them. Check them out, I guess.
And Minions that has a series of bosses from levels 1 to 20, all with stat blocks, minion stat blocks, tips on how to run them, and put them into your campaign. This is also an opportunity for me to plug things like Kobold Press, a company that has created some of the best third-party 5e content out there, and MCDM Productions, founded by famous D&D YouTuber and writer Matt Colville. In all seriousness though, using third-party content takes a ton of work off your plate. It is so easy to open a book, see a monster with a stat block, a story, and tips on how to run it, and just plug that into your campaign with no further effort. It can take prep off of your plate and gives you a vibrant storytelling opportunity. All of these were written by D&D players who ran into the same problem as you and wanted to help other people solve those problems, so they got super talented writers and artists to create the stuff, and it helps a lot. So don't be afraid to use it.
Yes.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Like, legit, like, I even last Sunday, one of the DM of that session was like, "Hey, you have like a dragoneel chasing you," and I was like, what's that look like? And like looked up Google images of dragoneel, and not only did I find a bunch of sick ass art, but then I did something more, which was, whenever you're looking at a monster, just keep scrolling through art. Just keep doing it. Because eventually you will reach the homebrew art of someone. And I found something that looked more or less like a kind of a giant prawn. And I went, ooh, this looks sick as hell. And I clicked it and I hit visit, and it was like, yeah, here's this creature, here's a stat block. And I went, thank you. I'll be taking this.
Yeah. Every time we would do, which we should do again at some point, just the homebrew like monsters and stuff, where we just look at them and see how they worked and stuff and all that. Like I literally used the Wendigo that we looked at way back in 20 something, I think, episode. And I literally used that for a one shot for Halloween near that at one point, and it went pretty well, and I liked it a lot. It was just really easy, and I didn't have to worry too much, and I really wanted to use a Wendigo, and I didn't want to come up with all the stuff for it because it was a one shot, and I focused more on the environment and everything else, and it was like the monster is there for me to use when I need to use it. It was incredibly useful. So yeah. Sweet tea, or sweet tay, as the folks say, is pretty seriously sweet down here in the southeast. As a diabetic, I never drink it, but it's everywhere. Yeah. anywhere in the South, it's everywhere, and most everybody loves it. And I always go, why are you putting so much sugar in that? It's already sweet tea.
Stop.
Why are you doing this? I've literally watched a friend of mine.
It brings to mind
so
both stop. Get some help.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop it. Stop. He's already dead.
Yeah. Gray makes it sound like you have to eat sweet tea. You do. It's weird. If you get pre-sweetened tea at a restaurant, it's mixed in industrially. If you mix the tea in yourself, it's not as homogeneous. Okay. Well, even so, whenever I've had it, it's garbage. The coffee kid sounds like a character from a beverage-themed western. Yes. I'm so sad that Kobold Press decided to not make content for Pathfinder 2, but I get why when 5e resurged. Gotta pay the bills. Yeah. And I'm sure that you could transplant a few of those things in. You just have to kind of work it a little bit more, which is unfortunate, but it's still pretty cool. It gives you ideas, you know? Even if you can't just, like, take a stat block in, you can just get the ideas, and it's great. My go-to art for monsters and ideas for future monsters or NPCs is Magic the Gathering art. It's so prolific and well done. Yeah, that art's pretty good.
I have their art for Tiamat is a real choice.
My grandfather used to add more sugar to Pepsi because it wasn't sweet enough for him. This is why he has diabetes now, sadly. Yeah. Yeah.
Tip number 5 is pretty straightforward, but is just kind of a tip in real life. But do your prep work over the week instead of just right before the session. I know we're told a million times that procrastinating is bad, but it really is so much easier to prep 15 minutes here or there over the course of the week, and then only have to prep for an hour or so before the session itself.
Yeah, easier, but also, I'm not smart.
You don't have to eliminate prep time before the session completely, but doing a little bit of it here or there can cut down on time you spend before the session, which can add some time spent playing since you don't feel like you've been doing D&D for quite as long. In other words, what would normally be 4 hours of D&D with 2 hours of prep, so 6 hours total, can now be 4 hours of D&D with half an hour of prep, or 5 hours of D&D with an hour of prep. It's just less time spent preparing for D&D when all we want to do is play, which I think can really help prevent us from becoming burnt out.
I would agree. I mean, it would be helpful if I did it, but I don't. So, yay.
Next tip is kind of a hard one to discuss because I don't want it to sound like flaking is cool, because it certainly isn't ideal. Either way, my tip is to not be afraid to call off sessions.
Okay.
Now, of course, there is a limit to that. Don't be canceling sessions every week at the very last minute. Anytime I have to cancel a session, I either do it first thing in the morning or at least one day before.
Yeah.
I don't always have the luxury of doing that depending
know.
on my schedule because obviously sometimes some things just come up. But generally speaking, I want my friends to have as much time as possible to make other plans or whatever and not be caught off guard by the canceled session.
Yeah. Example. I have had experience with this with a campaign I was DMing once where the druid of that campaign would more often than not call out, and every single time he would inform us 10 minutes before the session began.
No.
And
you talking about?
yeah, and it all just kind of became a running joke around most of the table of, yeah, well, so and so is gonna call out tomorrow, like, and every single time it was true. So I've been there. I've also been in the position where when it has to be me calling out because having been busy with school,
Yeah.
I would make sure that people knew by Wednesday, usually, if possible. If I had like a test or something, they would get, like, I would tell them 2 weeks. Then I would tell them hey, by the way, um I know I told you last week, but just as a reminder, I won't be here next session. And then I would also confirm uh definitely that they knew on Wednesday, just because if they decided to move forward, they knew to put me in NPC mode, or if they just canceled, they all had time to make other plans. But you also have scenarios in which it is okay to call out, because yeah, sure, the player in my campaign calling out all the time may have built up a bit of bad blood, um but conversely you have, or conversely, whatever,
Inverse, I think, but
yeah,
if it's the
inversely,
opposite,
Converse's shoes,
yeah.
um where we were planning the podcast for tonight, and today Boo's like, you ask you, that's gonna be good for this evening, and Boo's like, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be late, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then Boo says, I may actually need to put in a rain check tonight.
Yeah,
Had a
yeah,
big wave of
exactly.
sleepiness hit me. If I wake up before you guys finish tonight, I'll come on, but not sure if I'll make it. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's like totally okay, but because that's we all know that like there are other people that can like step in. Like, I will still be there, and even if I didn't, you could solo. It wouldn't be ideal, but you could do it.
It's fine. I do it on occasion.
Yeah. And plus we also have the culture in our group of, like, if you are tired or can't make it for
Yep.
literally, even if you're just sleepy or like you need a mental day off, like,
Yep.
take it. Like,
Exactly.
no stress, no obligation. Because when you do a podcast for 3 years, it can lead to burnout.
Yeah.
But since we all know we don't have that obligation, no worries.
Exactly. Yeah, I've always been pretty lax with this kind of stuff, because it's just like, if you have something come up or if you just can't do it, I mean, who am I to go, fuck you, dude? Because it's like, I understand that entirely. Like, I also have those days. And I feel like that's something that, if like, I can understand if you get frustrated by it, if you're in a group where you don't have that, like, the luxury of time, and it's one of those things of just like, this is the day that we can do this, and if you can't make it and you say you can't make it 2 minutes before, then that kind of sucks. So I understand that, but it just can't be helped at a lot of points. Okay. You should probably just ask for unsweet tea specifically, unless it's just the tea itself you don't like. I like the tea. It's just I don't order sweet tea. Yeah, I just get something else. And the times that I have done it have been the times where I go, maybe it'll be okay this time. That's not procrastination. That's just scheduling. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it can very much be procrastination. It really depends. But yeah. I couldn't prep immediately before the session. I'm much too slow. I'm no stranger to writing essays the morning before class they're due for, though. Yeah. Yeah. Google says conversely is correct. Oh. Yeah, conversely is a point from the contrary perspective. Inverse is a direct reverse, like a mirror. Well, there you go.
But what is I still don't understand how the two differ. They both just sound like different ways of saying opposite, but just say whichever one sounds cooler.
I think it's, I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't know. Anyway, it's okay. We can not learn English today. That's all right.
That's cool.
That's okay. Narrator, it wasn't okay that time. Exactly.
To be frank, sometimes you just aren't feeling it. And most of the time, I've found that you can get back into the groove as the session progresses, but some days I just can't find the energy or the drive to prepare and run a game. And the hardest thing to do is cancel the session, because then that adds to that feeling of guilt. So talk to your players, apologize for canceling, and then move on and enjoy your night off. Try not to beat yourself up over it too much, because as long as you aren't canceling super often, I guarantee your players aren't really thinking about it as much as you are. If you are canceling sessions super often, then it might be time to analyze how much you actually want to play, or potentially reducing the frequency at which you play. But that's another conversation entirely, so we're moving on. You know, actually that isn't another conversation, so here's another bonus tip. Don't feel pressured to run a game weekly. Having an extra week to relax and prep slowly can be a huge relief and can allow you more time to get ramped up and excited to play. I did that for a while in an online campaign I was running. We played weekly, and then I got a little burnt out with work or whatever, and I made it bi-weekly instead, and suddenly I found myself way more energized for every session because it gave me time to start missing the campaign again. It gave me time to want to prep and run and talk to my friends. So yeah, sometimes bi-weekly is fine, sometimes monthly is fine. Play at the frequency that fits your schedule best.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, continuing off that point. So yeah, obviously, I haven't been able to run my vampire campaign that I was doing for some friends for a while now. Mostly because I have been trying to find and get a bunch of things set and ready to get into an apartment, because I want to have my own space and I want to get that set before I actually dive into doing that some more, because it's just another thing to do, basically. If I but I need to really focus on, well, by focus I mean wait for this fucking number to maybe transfer to my new phone, to my new plan from my old one, because if I don't, then everything gets fucked. So I'm trying to not get some more stress on me by not running that campaign for a while. But we would do it bi-weekly because of other constraints, and it was very relaxing because we used to do it weekly, and I would do it from, I think it was 1 or 12 or 1 p.m. On Thursdays for 3 hours, and then I'd have a couple hours, and then we'd do Devils and Dice. And
Oof.
yeah, and I was starting to feel it. I was starting to feel it pretty hard on some days, but
Mr. Krabs.
yeah, I was feeling it, Mr. Krabs. And so it was pretty bad, but when it became more bi-weekly, it was a big help. I have immortalized the sweet tea discussion in memes. You have? I must find this. Hold on. Sorry everyone. Memes are important. If I'm told about a meme in our Discord, I gotta go get it. Let's see. Why is my brain not...
Metal Gear Rising Revengeance immortalized the importance of memes for me.
That's fair. When the teacher asks if Southern sweet tea is solid or liquid.
Oh no, hold on.
That's pretty good. I like that.
I must report.
I like that. Good meme.
Do me a favor of the guy like not sure which button to press.
Oh, that one's
Uh,
also good. Yeah, that
of
format.
like unsure whether it's tea is solid or liquid, and
Yes.
or unsure which phase tea is in,
Tea is
and then
in,
like
yeah.
one button for solid, one button for liquid, and then him pushing both and then giving the thumbs up.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yes. Um uh As adverbs, the difference between inversely and conversely is that inversely is in an inverse order or manner by inversion, while conversely is conjunctive with a reversed relationship. I don't know what that
Okay.
means, but it's what the
So
internet says.
I I thank you for finding this information for me. Um Sadly, I am a resident dumbass. And have no idea what conjunctive means.
I know conjunctivitis.
I
That's
think
bad.
it sounds sort of like conjunction, which makes me think
Mm.
junction. What's your function?
What's your function?
Unfortunately, I am a chemist, not a linguist, and I shall do as I have seen a lot of people do in my area,
Mhm.
which is cling to my ignorance.
There you go. There you go. So if I also appreciate it. I will tell you straight up, I would need to look at that for more than a few minutes, and I don't feel like taking the time at the moment, but I appreciate your willingness to give that information. Maybe I'll look at it later and understand better, but you will never know. The correct answer is yes. To the T? Yes. Anyway.
Okay, now on to my actual next tip. Play different systems. 5e is great.
Yes.
I love this system. It is the game that got me into RPGs. It is the game on which this YouTube channel was founded, and all of Jetpack 7's books are based. That said, sometimes I just want to play something different, and for those times, I look to different systems. There is only so much variety you can achieve when playing within the same rule set over and over again. D&D is designed to play a certain way, and while you can bounce off the walls and even bend them a little bit, it is difficult to fully break those walls without just moving systems entirely. I look at games like Call of Cthulhu, where rather than playing a heroic adventurer slaying hordes of monsters, you're playing as kind of just a regular person who gets caught in a horror film and is doing everything in their power just to survive. It is a very different gaming experience. I've played Legend of the Five Rings, Star Wars RPGs, Lord of the Rings RPGs, and they've all been super different than 5e, but also very, very fun. So even if it's just a one-shot or a short campaign, playing in a different system can give you that variety you need to hop back into 5e refreshed and ready to be a hero again. Not to mention, there are a few rules from other RPGs that I really liked and ended up adopting in my 5e game, so that's a nice little bonus to experiencing other RPG systems.
100%. I wouldn't have realized that I very much prefer and enjoy skill-based systems more than D&D class-based systems if I hadn't branched the fuck out. And also it helps me with wanting to play D&D again, because every now and again you go, I could go for that. I could go for that level.
I want to be a level 13 fighter man, and I hit enemies.
Yeah. My favorite and only chemistry joke is if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the precipitate.
I mean, yes. There's one chemistry joke which I still love. Look up help hold on, let me spell it out here. Help me, I'm dying. That help me, I'm dying. I adore that joke.
Okay.
I will find it so you can put it on the stream.
Okay. Actually, that applies to sweet tea. Technically, now that I think about it, is Southern Sweet Tea an emulsion mixture or colloid? Insert meme
Colloid.
of pointing at head.
Colloid.
All right. Stop.
Well,
talking so
I don't know,
smart around me.
because a
Go.
colloid, because it's a homogeneous mixture usually, or it should be. So I don't know if it could technically be a colloid.
My brain is too smooth. I don't understand these words. This is okay. This is okay for me. I don't need to know these words. I'm pretty sure.
I'm
Have you found it?
I'm pretty sure I have found it, and I am posting it
Exciting.
here.
I will put it on the screen. Right. Right now. Before organic exam. After organic exam. I'm dying.
So
I think
on the right,
Yes.
the little shape with the legs and the arms.
yes.
That's how you write double bonds.
Okay.
So the arms are a single double bond and the legs are a single double bond.
Yeah.
But in chemistry, when something is an alkene, like if there's no double bonds, it's an alkane.
Okay.
If there's one if there's one double bond, it's an alkene.
Okay.
And if there's a triple bond, it's an alkyne.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, the fact that there are two double bonds makes it a diene.
Ah, I get it. I get it. Okay. That is actually a little funnier that you've explained it to me now.
Mhm.
I wasn't expecting it to be, but it was. Nice. And on that sweet note, time for me to head off. Good night and thanks for the great time and for the social encounter advice. Also, I love the chemistry joke there. Good night, Steely.
See you, Steely.
All right.
2 tips left, and these are pretty dang big ones for me, and ones that I have to keep reminding myself of. First of all, take breaks between campaigns as a DM. Whether that means
Yes.
letting someone else DM so that you can play, or just taking a break from D&D entirely, do whatever you can to let that campaign that you just finished rest a little bit and give yourself some time to unwind. I understand that sometimes the momentum and excitement of finishing a campaign can be the sort of high you want to ride into the next campaign, but that excitement does fade, and there will likely come a time when you wish you had given yourself at least a few weeks to step away for a bit. D&D is amazing, and if you never ever get tired of playing it, more power to you. But I have found that for myself and many people I know, breaks are super duper helpful to give you the opportunity to reset and, like I said before, slowly prep for the next campaign. Great ideas and great preparation take time, and giving yourself that time without an encroaching deadline can be the key to letting your creative juices flow again.
Yeah. Right. What else am I? Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And finally, the most important tip of them all, don't put too much pressure on yourself to give your players the perfect D&D experience.
Way easier.
This
said
is
than
the
done.
one I struggle with the most. Every DM wants their campaign to be the best campaign ever, and that can cause some serious, well, for lack of a better term, performance anxiety. You feel the pressure to perform as a DM, which is super unhealthy for the longevity of your campaign. Let me put it this way. It is not the DM's job to provide the perfect campaign to their players. It is the DM's job to facilitate a gaming experience that their players will enjoy. Sometimes that means sitting back and letting the players do all the work. Other times that means crafting more railroady narrative campaign. Either way, neither of those options are the perfect campaign because, spoiler alert, the perfect campaign does not exist. Or, alternatively, and this is how I like to look at it, any campaign that the players and the DM are enjoying is the perfect campaign. There's no need for some brilliantly crafted, complex narrative or the most intense combat with the most expensive and detailed minis and battle maps. If you and your friends are having fun together, that is literally all that matters. 100% of it, nothing else. So there is no pressure to perform. You are simply a member of your group of friends who controls all the NPCs. You play a different role than everyone else. But if your players don't feel the need to perform, then you shouldn't either. Just have fun, relax, and remember that the key of the night is to have a good time. Nothing more, nothing less.
Now, while I agree, I also have this thing where I want to be better. Because I know that because literally Project Astatine is not like the best that it could be. Pretty sure about that. There are some things to it that I'm like, I could have done this better. I should have done this at this point. You know, like I want to improve my craft, if you will, of storytelling. And while I agree there is no pressure for me to do that, I put the pressure on myself because self-improvement is kind of a thing as a person, right?
Yes.
Like I just want to be better than I am. So it's extremely hard for me to just not put that pressure on myself. In terms of running a game, because regardless of whatever system it is, I always feel those. I was talking about this before. I always feel those butterflies in my stomach right before it starts, and even sometimes into it playing out. That it's just all gonna go up in smoke because it's awful. Oh God, it's so bad. But you know, even if it's not, even if it's a good time, there's still something that I can improve. I know that.
So I am going to actually take this opportunity to kind of out myself. In that 13-hour session, the way it ended, with them confronting a druid. His name was Brel. And literally I'm just going to keep on referring to him as Brel. It would just behoove you to know his name.
That's fine.
But there was a plant that he and his students had planted in this town that was like it grew exponentially. So when the players first saw it, it was only it was thick in the alleyway, but it was just in the alleyway. And the druids under his command were trying to cull bits of it that were growing out into the street, and bits of it, and they were cultivating bits of it in the alleyway, because the more of it that they had in the alleyway, the faster it'll take over the town.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and the party left to get it analyzed, and they came back like a week later, and it had taken over the entirety of the town. Some of the buildings were starting to get destroyed under the weight of the vines, and just because when plants grow, they draw nutrients from their soil. And if your soil is the side of a building, it's going to drop like what meager nutrients it can out of like the rock. And that will result in like the roots growing into the rock and the rock eventually cracking. So there were like some guards that they had seen. One of them had an angry red welt on their face. The other one had a welt that started like up from the bottom of her neck around the front and then like arched around the back of the neck. And it's because some kids had been playing and one of them stepped on the vine by accident. And if you cause any damage to the vine, it'll lash back. But and before it used to deal 1d6 damage for like if it was lashing. Now that it had taken over the town, I was having it roll 3d6.
Fair. Yeah.
and that kid was curled up in a ball getting lashed by the vines, and a guard like threw herself over the child and like took the brunt of the blows, and resulted in the guard getting heavily injured. The party makes hold on, outing myself. I had planned, the party made a deal under a zone of truth, to basically say, hey, like, amnesty for you guys. But on the way to Brel, they decided, you know what? No, fuck Brel.
Sure.
Which, because the promise was made under the effects of the zone of truth, they, like, the promise was made and the deal was struck. Yes, they just later on decided to go back on it. So because I had been under the impression that it was going to be a peaceful resolution, I never bothered to stat out Brel.
Fair.
My mistake. Because they went, yeah, no, fuck this guy.
Right.
And which resulted in them going like, yeah, we're gonna kill everyone there, and I'm going, I gotta make a dungeon boss up now. So what I decided to do was, because Brel was in charge of what was more or less a cult of 10 druids, I made him a high level spellcaster.
Right.
But then I took spell slots away from him because he's been burning spell slots all day.
Right.
And because he doesn't have access to his higher level magic, he'll be tough but not too tough.
Right.
And the players walk in through the door, which, despite the fact that I knew they were going to try to kill Brel, I went, oh shit, no, they're actually trying to kill him. Okay. And I went, okay, what do druids do? Druids conjure animals. Okay. And I looked up this spell, conjure animals.
Yep.
And I saw that if it's cast at 5th level,
yes,
you can summon 2 CR2 creatures.
Yeah.
And I went, because Brel had a 5th level spell slot. And I went, this boy is gonna pop his alt like at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like shock and awe.
Exactly.
And the way it happened to work out, the party is 3 people: a rogue, a fighter, and a cleric. The fighter was the one who encountered Brel, and he was 2 rooms away from the fighter and the cleric. Or sorry, from the cleric and the warlock. Cleric and rogue.
Okay, yeah.
He was 2 rooms away, and he went, I've got a fighter in my face. Time to even the odds, and summoned, what I learned after the fact was the spell is only supposed to be able to summon beasts.
Yes.
I looked at the CR2, like, I looked at monsters by CR level, and picked 2. And I picked an undead minotaur, or a minotaur skeleton, and a black dragon wormling.
Okay. Yeah.
The minotaur skeleton decided to charge and do a gore because minotaur,
yeah.
And I rolled that because of the location of where the black dragon wormling was, literally on the other side of the fighter and keeping the fighter back, that the minotaur had advantage because he's flanked.
Sure.
I rolled a nat 20 and dealt 36 damage.
Ooh.
It was a beefy boy. Luckily enough, the fighter managed to hold on with relentless endurance.
Good. Yeah.
And
Useful.
it's at this point that the cleric and the rogue show up.
Right.
And I'm going, dude, literally this was meant to be a doable but tough battle, but I'm like doing like calculations in my head, and I'm like, this isn't, someone's gonna die. The fighter's probably gonna die. And the cleric surrenders, fucking smooth talks the shit, turns into a social encounter. And says, hey, you know, we have one of your students. He gave us the location of where you all are at on the condition that he and you go free. They go back, get the student who is captured, and him, Zen and Brel go free. Now, I was talking, one of my friends messaged me after, the cleric, and says, he said the words that I never wanted to hear as a DM.
Ooh.
But I assumed you were trying to make it a scripted surrender.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, it was heavily improbable, like 75% likely you'd die, but I thought you wanted him to surrender. Because his AC was not stellar at 13.
Yeah.
Like legit, like I had been caught by kind of surprise.
Yeah.
But because just I don't know, the fact that he thought it was a scripted surrender. Yeah, and I'm like, no, literally, like, dude, fucking kill the shit out of him. I don't care. Like, you get his loot one way or the other. Because I had intended of him like just kind of like raising up his hands and going, okay, I will leave right now. I won't even get anything from the room, so you don't think I'm trying anything, and I will fucking go. And that would be how they'd get the loot, or you know, they kill him and get the loot.
Right. That I guess for just from my thinking of it, I don't know what there is that you could do to make it not that way, because that seems just like a personal perspective thing, right? Like, and it's just the way the dice rolled that really kind of augmented that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just like there's nothing else that you can do at that point other than go, oh fuck. Right?
Yeah. No, like legit, we were all playing with like and I roll the dice.
Yeah.
And I have like the screen in front of me with everyone's face cams.
Right.
And I see my own face drop. And I put my hands on the camera and I reach for my phone and I'm like, all right, so like I'm going to be real honest. I think Vincent might die.
Right.
And I like took a picture on my phone and sent it to the group, and it was a base 18 and a nat 20.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like I'm sorry. I know you would trust my rolls, and no, I'm not gonna go nat 20.
Right.
But like, bruh, I just want this. Like, there will be zero doubt.
Right.
And the party was like, what can we even do? And I'm like, well, you know, you can face the boss in a way differently from your fighter deciding to 1v1 him 2 rooms away from the rest of the party.
Okay.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
Another good start is recognizing, wow, you know, he summoned a 10-foot wide large monster.
Yeah.
And there's a 5-foot door.
Yeah, there's also that. Yeah.
So we could just leave. You could wait for his spell to end and not let him recharge his spell slots.
Sure.
and dude, he's fucked. Like literally just what you needed to do was disengage, get the fuck out, and wait.
Right. Well, I would then go, why would he not have the thing just barrel through?
Yeah, he would certainly have it try.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But it's a 5-foot space, and it's an undead Minotaur skeleton's a large creature.
Yeah, but it's also a Minotaur skeleton with the strength of like 18 to 20.
Yeah. It's going to be trying to break down.
It's going to go through that fucking wall.
It'll take it like a minute or two.
I guess I don't know the construction of the house, so I wouldn't know.
Oh yeah, this was all wooden.
Oh yeah. No, he's going through those fucking walls.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No. I said wooden. I meant stone.
Oh, okay. Then he's not going through those fucking walls very fast. Okay. Yeah. Never mind then.
He'll get through. Yes, but it's gonna take him
a bit.
Be a bit. Yeah. And even when he gets through that, it was a 5-foot hallway directly outside.
Right. Yeah.
And even if he busts through the 5-foot hallway.
Yeah.
There were 5-foot doors.
In which case I would go, is the wall that the druids in near like the edge of the building, you know?
It wasn't near the edge of the building, but it did connect to the entry room.
Okay.
And
okay.
He was 100% going to just start digging his way out.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the fight could have played out differently.
Oh yeah, easily. Could have been a fucking natural one.
Yeah. But legit, the reason why I was expecting my players to be able to think more on their feet, and except for, it's the rogue's first campaign.
Right.
But then he's like, yeah, obviously it's your campaign, but remember, all of us are still fairly new to D&D. And right. I'm like, And he's like, especially the rogue. And I'm like, I thought you and the fighter were veterans and have been balancing as such. And he goes, not really. This is like my third campaign. And I'm like, well, that's good to know. And he's like, we just know a lot because we like it so much. And I'm like, that's drastically different than what I thought. Because you knew so much, I thought it was experience.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
That's going to have to shift how I balance everything, because I had been balancing everything thus far with the idea of, okay, so I've got one person who is frankly dead weight, and the other two can like kind of carry.
Yeah.
All right. But now I need to be putting it as like 2 semi-beginners and 1 actually beginner. Who might not realize.
Yeah.
Dude, we can just back off and wait.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, you're right. I 3 campaigns though sounds like a lot to me, but that's mostly because campaigns to me seem to take forever.
Yeah, he did say the longest campaign we had was 1.5 years, which made me go. Then he went, and it was not 5e, and I go,
okay, I guess, but even so,
but still, the knowledge of, hey, let's slam my face against this brick wall.
Yeah,
like you should know there's ways you can handle bosses that aren't slamming your face against them.
Yeah, exactly. That's 1.5 years is a lot of experience. But I guess it depends on who DM'd it and how things were run and a bunch of other factors. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but he said, on top of that, the fighter and I have never played D&D past level 5.
Oh, okay, fair. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll do some adjusting around because this changes things. But yeah, like legit, because I have that pressure of, this is the rogue's first time playing D&D. I want it to be a memorable one.
Okay.
Because you always remember your first campaign.
That's true.
and I want this to be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And going like I threw an encounter at my players that was I guess so poorly optimized they thought it was a scripted surrender.
Yeah.
They thought I was removing choice from their equation.
Right. Yeah. That's feels bad, man.
Yeah.
That's a big feel.
But you know, at the end of the day, like you will always be learning in D&D.
Oh yeah.
Like
no matter what.
Matt Mercer is still learning.
Absolutely. There's no way he isn't.
Yeah.
He would never call himself a master of D&D. Like, the only one who would is Garrett Bay, and we all know that he's right.
And we all know, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, he's been did you know he's been DMing since he was 12?
I did. It's really impressive. Anyway, few things. Let's see. Sorry I wasn't paying attention because I was watching some Droidicas dancing in Empire at War. Well, that's fair enough. I hope you had fun. I don't know. I just want to do whatever the cool thing that I thought of. I don't know. I just want to do whatever the cool thing was that I thought of, which is perfectly valid. Why not? Well, Rome built one of the most powerful empires in history, and they were blundering around all the time. Yeah, but even if it's, you know, it's still, they're learning from blunders, you know, failing forward, all that. That druid is dope as hell. Yeah. Seems like he's got a little bit more juice than you thought. There was a Star Trek episode about that lesson. Which one? Are we talking old Trek? Are we talking next gen? Are we talking what are we talking?
Why would you say the forbidden words?
They're not forbidden. Shut up. I just want to know. I just want to know. That's all. Don't feel too bad, Aiden. I had a player die in a linear 3-space wide hall because they never thought to duck behind the towers to avoid the lightning beams. There you go. Let's see.
Hold on a second. I have to explain to my druid how to roll an attack roll and how to roll a damage roll.
Okay. That that's gonna
D20
stay with me.
Plus
That's gonna stay with me for a little while. I'm just gonna end the video's almost over, so I'm just gonna play
D20 plus Dex mod plus proficiency.
Alright, those are my 9-ish tips to preventing DM burnout. Let me know in the comments what you all do to keep yourselves from getting burnt out on DMing. If you like this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel, and as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you around.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
that was it. Good video.
Oh, fucking Christ.
TNG, the one where Dr. Crusher, I think, was taking the command course and kept getting destroyed by a simulated Romulan ambush on the holodeck. Dr. Crusher? Crusher never goes through a command course, does she? Wait. What? Oh, is that where they're training to infiltrate and try to rescue the prisoner who's being kept in by some Romulans? Is that because Picard, Crusher, and Worf all go on that secret mission all together? Is that the one? Anyway, Aiden's story time is my favorite time, says Mongoose. Yay.
Oh, sorry. Glad you enjoyed Mongoose. Sorry, I'm just talking to. I'm having a conversation with myself mentally.
I understand. I understand. I understand. Well, so here's the thing. I think that don't think it's that one, but I'm vaguely remembering it and not sure it was Dr. Crusher. Okay. I'd have to search through again because I don't remember that being the thing for Crusher because they were training together not in the holodeck. No, they were training. What were they doing? Anyway, totally off topic, but yeah, I think it's not Crusher. I can't remember who it is at the moment, so I will remember one day, maybe. Anyway, so that video took a while. I thought it wouldn't take as long, but it did. So I think that's the only video we'll go over today. But that isn't to say that there isn't another thing to talk about. Episode 100 is just the hosts talking about horrible mistakes players and themselves have done in their RP careers. Hosts talking about that. We could, I guess, maybe. Depends. But I will say, before we get to comments and stuff, there is a special announcement that I want to make and give you guys the opportunity to join. I already talked about the choosing your favorite episode from the past 2 years. That is in the description right now. If you go into the description of the video in the future in the VOD, I'm going to have this form up that you can choose your favorite episode from the past 2 years. And I just want to see it. I just want to see. I'll just show the graph after the month is gone by. But there is a second form that I want to have filled out. Now, it's because all of you out there watching, all of you out there who have joined the Discord, all of you out there who have subscribed, all of you out there who have given us the time of day, you are what makes the show possible and able to go on because of your interest. Would we keep doing it without you? Probably. Just because even if people don't watch it, it's still fun to talk. But I wanted to give back. And I thought the best way to do that is to host a little drawing, a little contest drawing thing. So, if you'll look at this little thing that I have put together, it is very simple, it is very easy, and I will explain to you the little contest that is going to be going through. Thine Own Self was the episode. It was Dr. Crusher. I'll have to look at the synopsis again and see if I remember, but I will talk about that in a second. So, if you will turn your attention towards the screen right now for all of you watching, as soon as I get it on the fucking screen, there we go. We're gonna do a drawing for a physical TTRPG book that is signed by all three of your favorite hosts, or just us, either one. So we're going to, if all you got to do, and I will put the link in chat in a second, but all you're going to have to do is give your username and an email for me to contact you if you win. And this is going to go on for a month, the whole month of February, until the end of it. So you'll have plenty of time to think about what book, any TTRPG book under $100, because there's like rarer ones that are like over $100, and that $100 is my limit. But under $100 that you would want that we could sign for you, maybe give a little personal message or something, but a little signature, and we'll send it off to you and you can have it. So, and it's literally just click submit and you're in. Just make sure that you do something that I know who you are, either if you're a subscriber for just the channel or if you're a Discord member, either one works, for the username, and then give me your email, and then I will randomly choose at the end of the month on the podcast that is at the end of the month, so on the at the beginning of next month, on the 1st of March, because oddly enough, the 1st of March is gonna be a podcast day. So, from this first till the next first, you'll have that time to think about it. And I think I've made it so that you can edit this response. So if you think, I don't actually want that book, I want this book, you can go back and edit it, hopefully, if this works the way that I hope. So, let me put this in chat for you right here, right now, for all of you to get, and all of that. And it is right there. I'll also put it in the description of the VOD and the stream right now, for those of you who miss it in the chat. Enter to win signed book. Additional rules and stuff are there. On the 1st, if you don't respond within 2 to 3 days, I choose somebody else. That's just how it goes. So whoever I choose that day, we'll do like a wheel thing. It'll be great. So enter in, and you could get a book with all of our names on one of the pages that hopefully isn't on like a rule page. Probably. You never know.
Going to put my name on the cover in Sharpie.
Oh, that just makes me wince. God, I hate that. So yeah, that's to celebrate really just the fact that you guys have been around or are going to be around for, you know, the 2 years that have already gone by and the 3rd year that has started. So thank you guys, and good luck to all of you who decide to enter. So yeah, that was my big announcement. Now that that's out of the way, we're gonna read comments. I'll also post it in the Discord as well, just to make sure that people who weren't here for it, they also know.
Yeah, VOD people must also know.
Yeah, the VOD people will. Yeah, they'll hear this on Friday. But, why is there no 5e for Dummies book? Why not have it on the cover in nail polish?
There is a 5e for Dummies book. It's called The Player's Handbook.
Hey, he's right. So yeah, and I will. I'll get that all set by the 1st, and then I will let you know basically when I've sent it, and I'll give you a tracking number if I can. If I can't, then I will say it has sent, and I am hoping to God that it gets to you. And if it doesn't, then I don't know what to do at that point. I'll figure it out. It'll just be, you know, it's really not too bad for you because I'm spending the money for you. Very cool. Anyway, it's basically at that point it's just be like it's an IOU for signatures. So maybe one day. But I'm hoping to fuck that I can rely on the postal service. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, no one had time to read the player's handbook. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, comments. We have 2. That is, first, from the rules lawyer himself, our friend Ronald. Says on last week's episode, reacting to Garibay with face cams is your next evolution. I would love that. LOL. He assumes his players don't watch his channel. In his mind, does he think he's in a dialogue with anyone but himself? On a more serious note, I think it's fair to say this confirms he's certifiable. He said some very crazy stuff then. Yes. And then we have Lux, the reliable. I'm going to start with the Garibay video here. First of all, that's just a mess of a title. To some extent, I can blame the poorly crafted nature of a lot of his arguments on the fact that he apparently just gets in the car and rants when he's making these videos. But for the title, he would have to sit down at the computer and think about it. So there's really no excuse for this being the best one he could come up with for this video. A better title would have been, is it ethical to use Dungeons & Dragons for political research without the knowledge of the players? I agree. That's still a mouthful, but it more plainly states the question that's actually being asked. The problem is, if he had phrased the question that way, it would have been much more likely to have been answered with a resounding no from the viewers. I can't prove that this decision is a resort of malice rather than stupidity, but a motive certainly exists here for selecting the less comprehensible title. That said, a less awkward approach would have been to simply title the video using Dungeons & Dragons for political research, and then posing the question within the video itself. He should have then made a case both for and against the proposal, and asked the viewers which side they felt more inclined to agree with. Alternatively, he could have asked viewers for their raw opinions without making any argument of his own, but that would run the risk of drawing uninformed opinions based on viewers' gut reactions rather than critical thought. But instead of doing either of those things, he only made an argument in favor of what he wanted to do, and then asked the viewers if they agreed with him. Essentially, he did everything he could have done to bias the response in favor of his own preferred result. Yep. And because of that... And because of that, I already doubt the usefulness of any data he could gather with this experiment. In this video, we already have one example of Garibay attempting to collect data in a way that could cause a bias towards a conclusion that he wants to reach. If he has done this once, it means he either doesn't know how to avoid it, or he is consciously willing to engage in dishonest methodology. Either way, his objective as a scientist is called into question, and there is cause to regard his results as untrustworthy. I'm not going to comment to a position right now on whether what he's proposing is actually ethical or not. I honestly don't have a strong feeling either way. The point I'm getting at right now is that the video he posted is deeply flawed and actually unethical in and of itself. The next video I'll hit is the third one. Oh, sorry, go on.
So, you mentioned that scientists, like, you did a good job mentioning of yourself, but I also just want to mention for those at home, but, like, in the world of science, you need to be neutral to your results.
Yes.
Because the second that you have a preference as to, like, oh, well, this is, like, a lot of students fall into the trap of, they say, oh, this is good data, which means this is data which I expected.
And it supports my position.
Yes. That does not make it good data.
No.
How well you did the experiment makes it good data. And because of that, I have the feeling that Garibay would get data that supports his position and go, this is good data. And then when he gets evidence to the contrary, he would try to explain it away with some other variable.
The next video I'll hit is the third one, about weapon customization. I don't have any strong objections to it, and would actually say that it's a good idea. The one thing I want to mention is that I would want to have standard quality weapons available to first level characters. Weapons of lower quality could be available at a discount, and also commonly wielded by low level NPCs. But I feel that first level adventurer should still be able to have equipment that is considered to be of decent quality, not forced to head off into life-threatening peril with weapons that are chipped and tarnished. However, I fully support the idea of weapon quality increasing above standard as a character advances. Also, there was actually a Diablo campaign setting published for D&D 3E that as I recall, actually did implement a customized equipment system based on the prefixes and suffixes that could be associated with weapons and armor in the Diablo games. On top of that, equipment could also be socketed so that you could attach gems and runes based on the same system from Diablo 2. Now that I look into it, it's called Diablo 2 Diablerie. Don't ask me how to pronounce that, but apparently it means reckless mischief or charismatic wildness. And I accidentally downloaded a PDF of it just now, so that's a thing.
Am I fashionably late enough?
Yes, hello, Boo.
Hello.
You're at the comments section part of the time, so...
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so you're at the very, very end.
Well, hello.
Hello.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Now
Welcome.
the party can start.
Of course, of course.
Also, you're very loud for me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, you know what it was? I think for some reason me and Brogan ran into this when we were playing Serious Sam, the new Serious Sam. For whatever reason, it fucked with our mic stuff.
Oh.
Like the gain or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely turned yours up. Definitely.
Up or down?
Up, up, because it made you much louder.
It made me louder, so I need to turn it up to make myself even louder.
No. What?
That's what you said.
No. What I said is that the gain has gone up so that it has made you louder. That is what happened.
Yes. And so then
Yes.
you're telling me to turn it up.
No.
No.
Okay, maybe I misheard you then.
Yes.
It has made you louder. You are too loud. Be quiet.
Yes. That. But I you're good now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're back to normal now.
Okay,
You may resume speech.
Yeah. There we go.
Mongoose says hi, Boo.
Hello, Mongoose.
I guess that sounds like the right pronunciation. My brain wasn't working. I have no idea. I just said words. Anyway. And moving on in reverse order, we come to the second video, but I don't really have a lot to say about it, other than the sound balancing. I guess it was alright. I wouldn't say... no, it wasn't. I wouldn't say railroading is caused by over-planning. I would say it's caused by wrong planning. Honestly, this is simple. Don't write a campaign by planning the choices your players are going to make. Write your campaign by planning contingencies for the choices your players might make. Roll credits. Finally, the first video, I've got more to say about this one. The problem with his video is that the tips are shallow. The creator just lists some things you can do, presenting them as things you objectively should do. He doesn't adequately answer the question of what dark fantasy is, or go into any depth about what it should accomplish. He sort of implies that it's like Ravenloft, but leaves you to figure out what that means on your own. The impression it leaves is that his approach to dark fantasy is like beating the players over the head with a rock, brute force terror, no subtlety. Also, he's conflating dark with grimdark, which is just factually wrong. A story can absolutely be dark without reaching the point where humanity is powerless and without hope. Heroes can be powerful, they can overcome the forces of evil completely in the end, and the story can still be dark. Here's an example. The party enters the lair of an evil wizard, filled with the twisted abominations left behind by his magical experiments. Enslaved zombies mill about as they stand guard. Mutated slimes with giant pulsating brains ooze through the dull gray halls, attacking the party with psionic blasts on sight. Drag marks of dried blood streak across the floors in most of the rooms, and brutal torture devices stand alongside rows of equally brutal medicinal equipment. In one room, the party finds a horrific statue that looks like several human bodies fused together, and the telepathic voices of a dozen people scream into their minds at once in incoherent madness. In another room, the party sees a tapestry on the wall showing a looping animated image of a person screaming in terrified anguish as his face becomes distorted, then swirls out into an incoherent blur before the scene repeats itself. Maybe the party's mage flashes detect magic and learns that the soul of an unfortunate victim was bound into this tapestry and trapped in an eternal nightmare. At the end of the dungeon, the party finds the wizard in his inner sanctum, guarded by a retinue of babas, excuse me. After a difficult fight, the wizard is slain, and the party finds a way to release all of the imprisoned souls from their torment.
Yippee.
So what did I do there? Well, for one thing, I stole some shit from Dark Sun Shattered Lands, currently available on GOG.com. But also, I put you into an inherently disturbing environment and caused you to imagine what the unfortunate people who were trapped there must have gone through. I didn't tell you what they went through, but I didn't have to. You already know. I showed you that the wizard was evil and dangerous without you ever even meeting him until the very end. And I let you imagine what could have happened to the heroes if they fell in battle without explicitly telling you what could have happened. But I also ended the story with the heroes victorious and evil totally defeated. So does that mean it's not dark? It's not disturbing anymore because the good guys beat the bad guys and got to feel like heroes, right? No, the bad things happened, and they won't unhappen. Even though I just told you that good can overcome evil in that world, the stain of darkness has been left there, and it won't be erased. What does dark fantasy need to do? It needs to bring the darkness of the world into focus. It shows that everything isn't sunny skies and unicorns. Bad things are done that can never be undone, and that which has been seen can never be unseen. Today's comment is sponsored by the mighty and omnipotent King Tektut-Title, vicious defender of Draj. Hail our Lord Master, the great Tektut-Title, whose protective wings smother us all in their malignant glory. I can't say the word.
Very good. Excellent. Beautiful.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes. I agree. And it's as simple as that.
On another, on a related note, did you fucking Deep Rock Galactic is doing a Kickstarter for a board game?
Yep. I've already made it so that it'll tell me when that happens, so I can back it.
That's pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah, it's
launching the 10th.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's just in the Steam newsfeed for me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Super cool.
Good for them.
Cool. Absolutely. It'll be super fun, I hope.
Yeah.
In other news, I bought an Oreo mousse. Oh, nice. Very good.
Nice. I bet that's hard to feed. Does it only eat white cream?
Yes. So that's all the comments. Thank you so much. And that's it. I mean, we're gonna talk about patrons and stuff in a second, but yeah, one of those things. Also, you got another Haibu from Rennie Wild.
Oh, hello, Rennie.
So yeah, that'll do it for us for tonight. So a big thank you, as always, to our lovely patrons, keeping that dice fund going. And that is, of course, Draco Kraken at tier 4. Thank you very much. Mog Zero also at tier 4. Thank you. Slazer at tier 4. Thank you as well. Steely at tier 4. Thank you so much. Drake Cross at tier 3. Thank you. Chris at tier 2. Thank you. Lux, because I always forget how to say the first thing, and I don't want to make a fool of myself, at tier 2. Thank you. Frozen Spaghetti, also at tier 2. Thank you as well. And finally, last but not least, Kill Chrono at tier 2. Thank you so much. To all of you now. Yes. Of course, this is not the only way that you can support us. If you would like to, of course, you can support us through Patreon at patreon.com/tabletalkdnd. Yes, Juice, you did miss the stream. Sorry.
Don't worry, Juice. I did too.
Yeah, that's also true.
Hi, Juice.
Hi, Juice.
Hello.
We gotta get in talks at some point because I have a plan for a future thing.
Oh boy.
But we'll get to that bridge. But anyway, other ways that you can support, of course, is going to TableTalk, the TableTalk store on TeePublic, and getting our logo on a thing, whether it be a t-shirt, a mug, a whatever you want. It is there. You can do that. Ooh, future thing? Yes, future thing. And we just gotta figure scheduling and stuff. But it'll be a future thing. We'll talk. I'll talk to you. Other than that, of course, you can also buy through Humble Bundle using our link, because we are partnered with Humble Bundle. Great fucking store. They're almost done with their Lunar New Year right now. If you haven't looked at it, they have some stuff on sale there that isn't on sale on Steam, which I got, and also their new choice bundle, which I just got because I do that every time that it's available. And one of the things is Borderlands 3 and the director's cut. So if you don't have that, go get it, I guess. But yeah, in the description, you can use our link and go and support charity. Specifically, the one that we support is Tabletop Alliance, which there is also information that you can get on them in a link in the description as well. But yeah, that's all the shilling stuff. So yeah, thank you again, everybody, and those of you who weren't here for it. Remember, the winning a free under $100 physical TTRPG book that is signed by all three of us is a thing. You can check the description to see that, the little giveaway thing that we'll do on the podcast on the 1st of next month. So go join it if you want a free book and have our fucking names in it.
I swear to God, if somebody picks Cyberpunk Red, I'm gonna be so pissed because I can't even get one of those for myself.
And yeah, it will, we'll do that. And other than that, I think that's it. Welcome to year 3 of Table Talk.
Season 4, though.
It is season 4, but it's also year 3. Shut up.
Yeah,
it's fine. Weird. Don't worry about it. They had a season 0 when it was year 1 of Halo Infinite.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing makes sense. Cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria. Anyway, we'll see you next week, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for hanging out.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for coming to this stream.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Depart.
I enjoyed your presence here with me today.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Please leave. Maybe come again.
Please.
Maybe come again.
I implore you now. It's been the last call, man, and you need to go home.
You can't stay here. No, you can't stay here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. That's the way.